coders out there, let's begin our journey to learn about some Lodash. We will be starting with Lodash map function, which is the basic one to iterate through a list of through a collection. Basically, it can be an array of items or even an object. So let's start with a simple integers array. So integers is an array of, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the map function here given by Lodash. Oh, I forgot one thing. So first of all, we need to have the Lodash included into our codepen. Let's see how we can do that. Since it is a third-party library, we need to have it. So let's go here and let's see, do it from scratch. Look for Lodash, get the Lodash CDN, which basically imports this JS script into our scope, and we can use the functions provided by the JavaScript file. And for some reason it's available as a underscore object in codepen. So let's invoke the map function of the Lodash and iterate through our integers array, which we have already defined. And the second parameter for the map function is basically a function that accepts an item and does something with it. So first of all, let's get an item and try to log it into the console. Alright, so to see the difference, let's log the integers first as it is and then log the integer from the integers collection individually. So running the script, okay, we can see that our first result logging the integers collection, we get the collection itself, and this console log dot of integer prints each of the item in the integers collection separately. So what it means is that your map function allows you to manipulate an item inside the integers collection individually. Let's say I want to print an integer multiplied by 2, right? And let's execute it again. So your initial integers collection is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and what we are doing is we are picking each integer from the integers collection and printing out the result of that particular integer multiplied by 2. So this one is like a iterative process where this integer value gets each of these items in a iterative fashion. Another thing which I wanted to point out is that the map function here provided by Lodash does not mutate your original collection that you have given it. So the map functionality returns a new collection which is the result of this transformation that you are applying here. So let's get this back into a results variable. Let's make it a let so that we can change it later during the course and try to print out the results again. Okay, so I'm just going to remove this original console.log here in order to avoid any confusion and run it. So you can see that the integers collection is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the results collection, that is the result of this map transformation, is 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10, which is each item multiplied by 2, exactly how we have specified in the transformation that we want to apply for each item. Now how we can make it better? So sometimes these kinds of transformation are kind of generic and you want to reuse it again and again in different places, so it's become kind of verbose that you have to write down the same functionality again. So what we can actually do is we can get this functionality out into a separate function like this. Let's say const we have a multiply by 2 function which accepts an integer and returns that integer multiplied by 2, right? So this is the again a this is called arrow functions, and this has been newly introduced in the new ECMAScript 6, which you don't have to worry about much. So if you are used to writing the old-fashioned functions in JavaScript, let's do that also. Let's say multiply by 2 is going to be a function that accepts an integer and which is going to return that integer multiplied by 2. So this one and this one are exactly the same. This one is much more cleaner than writing it like this. So let's comment it out for now, and what this allows is we can actually pass in a reference of a function into the map method of the Lodash, and the map function automatically invokes that function by passing the item in the collection as the parameter. Let's say results again is equal to map function of integers, and instead of having an anonymous function written down like this, we can pass in the reference of the function which we just created. So let's get the results back. Let's try to log the results. So we get the exact same result as we have got by writing the anonymous function over here. So we can have a function also used as the parameter value for the transformation inside the map function. Cool. So this is all well and good. Working with an array is awesome using Lodash. But in the era of modern JavaScript, where we make web applications totally driven by data, we are likely to encounter objects much more um, frequently than simple arrays. So what I mean by is that most of the data that's coming back into our web application comes from an API response, which is of the form of an object. Let's assume we are getting back a users collection back from an API response. So what I've done is I have prepared a sample collection. I'll just copy it over to here. So let's say this is your collection that you're looking at. It's a collection of objects, and usually what we are tasked to do is to modify or manipulate this collection in any way that it can help our front-end application to render it easily or use it in any other part of code in a way that it expects it to be. For instance, it's a common requirement to get the list of the users. We'll just let's say just the names, right? So we can use the map function very quickly to get a list out of it. So we know that you can use the map function to uh, look at each user object and return something from that user object. So let username is equal to map these users, and a user object goes in and you get back your user first name. And let's try to log it into the console and see what the new usernames collection look like. See, you can see that it just creates a new array of the first names in each of the object the map function gets. Since this is a very frequently used transformation, that is to pick one specific property from each item in your collection, Lodash map function gives you a shorthand just to specify the property name. So let's see how it works. I'm going to change the usernames again. So like map the users, you just have to provide the key of the particular property that you are interested in. Let's say I am just interested in first name. right? So again, I'm trying to log what the user names collection is. So one thing that you need to understand is that I am reassigning the new result into the earlier user names object. So whatever results we had will be rewritten by the result of this action. Okay, now let's clear it, and the value returned by this transformation and this transformation is exactly the same. So this is the one which we got back for writing the code out like this, and this is the one which we got out like for writing the code like this. And the good thing is this one works for nested properties as well. So now let's say I want to get the list of all the just the line one property of the address property inside each user object. So how would we write it? So let's say um, line ones is equal to map the users and pick the address and line one from it. So if I try to log the console log line ones collection, clear it and run it again, you can see that now you can see that your the return collection is just having the line one information from each of the object. So it's a nested property. This is an property that inside another object within the user object. So this is the way to pick out specific properties from the object which is having a nested structure. So when you see somebody write code like this, it means from the user's object you are trying to pick the user address line 1 information. I just want to remind you that again that your map function from Lodash does not mutate your original collection in any way. So you have seen that we have done transformation like this, but your original users collection is never mutated as part of your map function. See, this is the original array that which we have given the users collection. It is not getting mutated in any way. So now let's try to do a bit more complex thing than just to return some property. Let's try to do some transformation. Let's try to create an array of just say names, which is a concatenation of first name and last name. So how would we do it? Very simple. Let's say we create a names collection where we map through users, and user goes in and it returns user first name concatenated with a space, let's say, and user last name. And let's see what that result is. Console names. Clear out the console for now. I don't want to see the big list of users here. Just comment it out and run it again. You can see that we get a new collection of names concatenated, where we concatenate the first name and last name together separated by a space. So this is all what a map function is. Let's close this tutorial by having a bit more complicated functionality where we try to transform your collection into something else altogether. So the map functionality, what it basically does, it returns a new collection, but the collection structure itself does not change. So we give in a users collection. So here you can see the initial users collection was having 3 user objects, right? And in the return we are getting again a new collection, new array having 3 items in it, right? But often it's not the case. You have a original collection, and what you want to do it with is to create a much more different, let's say, convert from an array into a object having a new key and different values within it. As an example, let's say you have a users collection like this, and what you want to do is come up with a new object where you want to know who are the users in Carnegie and who are the users in Malvern. So what I am expecting is something, a new object like this. Let's say your Malvern line have, let's say, who are the peoples in Malvern. So Malvern has only one person here, let's say Kumar, and Carnegie has two people in it, let's say Ritu and Amrita, right? So so somehow we need to manipulate our users collection to return something like a new object of this particular structure. Let's see how we can do it. So here what you're trying to achieve is our not a direct way of using the map function, but it can be achieved. Anyway, we need to iterate through each of these user objects and somehow create a new object like this. For that, let's create a new object like an empty object which can be like manipulated according to each user object. So people, let's call it people by location. For now, let's make it as an empty object, for we don't know which people belongs to which location. Now let's map through users and try to figure out how we can change the people by location object such that the key is the line to information in the address and the values are the user's first name. You pick each user by user and do a conditional check whether this particular object has got the line to information of this user as a key, right? If that one is not there, we will add a new key and that particular user's first name as a list inside it. So let's see whether the people by location has got the key like that particular user's line to information, right? If it has it, then what we are going to do is push the current user's first name into that particular key within the people by location object. People by location user dot address dot line to dot push the user's first name. And if the people by location object does not have that particular line to information, what we need to do is we need to add a new key into this particular people by location. So how the way we can do is people by location, it doesn't matter if we have that particular key or not. If we just specify like user dot address dot line to and assign it some value, it will automatically create that key for JavaScript does that. So what we want to do is we want to assign that particular key as a new array with that particular user first name. And since we are doing an statement inside that if else condition, we need to wrap it with a bracket. Let's try to format the JavaScript so that it's much more readable. So what here it does is that the user goes in and we check whether the people by location object has got the key or same as the line to information in the address, and if there is a line to, if there is a key in the people by location object with that particular user address line to information, what we do is we just push the particular user's first name into that particular array. Or not, if that line to information is a new thing which we have not yet seen, we will initialize that particular line to tag as a collection of as an array, where the first object would be the particular user's first name. So now let's see what the transformed people by location object looks like. We'll just clear everything and run it again. You can see that what we are getting back is an object which is same as what we have anticipated, what we needed. So we have the Malvin key here, which has got a list of Kumar, who is the single person in the user's collection who is having a line to information as Malvin. And for the first user and the third user, we can see that the line to information is Carnegie, and those people are grouped together for the key Carnegie. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next one.